Good evening, everyone. So today, I'm going to talk to you about transformation and why transformation is so important, both individually and also for corporations, to meet, changing needs of the marketplace and the world. So before I talk about corporations and all of that, I'm going to talk a little bit about my transformation. So I graduated in 2009 with a degree in biology, if you can believe it. And after graduating, not a whole lot of jobs out there. I did some side jobs, I did some volunteering. Still not sure what I'm going to end up doing. I will tell you, I was this close to submitting my paperwork to do a fellowship in ceramics. And then someone called me, a friend of mine, who said that the Arkansas Symphony Orchestra was hiring. And I said, great, let's do this. So I moved to Arkansas, went to work for the Arkansas Symphony Orchestra, and did that for a period of time, and loved it. Shortly thereafter, I was given the opportunity to join HP, Hewlett-Packard. And again, I said, all right, both feet in, let's jump in and do this. I went from an employer of 8 people to an employer of 300,000 plus. And it was definitely overwhelming. While I was at HP, I got involved with an organization called the Young Employee Network. And YEN brought young employees together from around HP, all over the globe, concentrated into sites to bring them people to talk about mentoring experiences and help answer questions like, how do I get promoted? How do I advance my career? How do I find a mentor? How do I be successful in a global corporation when you could have a 6-digit employee number? And YEN became really a passion of mine. And so I became a leader of that organization. And my goal was to help other young employees younger than me find those same answers and navigate this corporate machine. Now, through YEN, I became involved with an organization called One Young World. And One Young World is a UK-based charity that is similar in mind. They bring together young leaders from around the world to tackle big global problems like conflict and peace. But corporations send delegations of employees there, and they're all young employees, right? It's One Young World. And so we come together as groups of people from big multinational corporations to try to answer those same questions. How does HP do it versus L'Oreal? What are things that we can share between different companies so that everyone can ultimately be more successful? So I worked for HP for a number of years and get the opportunity to join IBM. And again, I jump at the moment at the opportunity, and so I come over to Big Blue. Once I got there, I realized that I wanted to be a part of an organization that was like YEN. I wanted to be part of an organization that helps employees find their way, young employees, navigate their career, and so on and so forth. And so I became involved with an organization called the Millennial Core. Now, I'm going to talk a lot more about the Millennial Core in a little bit, so I'm going to set that down. Now, as I transformed and went from biology to technology and business, I want to focus a little bit more about IBM and IBM's transformation. So the IBM of 1911 is very different from the IBM of 2017. IBM has transformed itself over the years and decades because of advancements in technology and the changing face of how people interact with technology and also changing needs of corporations and companies that would use technology from IBM. So just 3 points of IBM's history. The first is 1969. We are using our System 360 mainframes to help NASA perform the computational analysis to land man on the moon. In the 60s, mainframes were the primary method of computation for anyone. Mainframes today are still very important. IBM still makes mainframes, and they're much more advanced than they were in 1969, I promise you. But the world has moved past mainframes as well. We were able to do things like miniaturization of technology. And so we went from mainframes to client servers. And then that's a much smaller device. And then we figure out how to do something called virtualization. And now we're able to split that up into smaller pieces. And now we're in this area called cloud, which is simply an evolution of where we were in the 1960s with mainframe computing, except now we've evolved to meet the changing business needs. 1981, IBM releases what is called the 5150, or our first personal computer. And we're right on the edge of the PC revolution. To put it in perspective, a 5150 cost $1,500 approximately and can sit on your tabletop. An IBM mainframe costs $6 or $7 million and requires a quarter acre of air-conditioned space. PCs fundamentally changed the way that humans interact with technology because it made it incredibly accessible. We also started using things like the internet, and we became very, very interconnected with one another, even though we were separated by huge geographies. Now, we're almost in a post-PC era because tablets and smartphones are incredibly powerful, much more powerful than the first PCs, as powerful as some PCs today. And IBM correspondingly has transitioned and moved away from the PC market because we are looking at changing needs. So now let's go forward 30 years to 2011. After a few years of research, IBM pits our artificial intelligence supercomputer, Watson, and Watson wins in Jeopardy. Now, Watson, at that point, was a supercomputer that was designed to hear answers and respond with questions. Watson of today is a set of tools and services that allow computers to understand information the way humans do, with speech, written word, or spoken word, text, as opposed to tables and spreadsheets and things like that, image recognition. And furthermore, Watson allows computers to do things like emotional analysis, understanding sentiment and tone. And so we've even moved forward since 2011 to 2017 with Watson. And I want to talk a little bit more about what Watson's doing, and I'll cover that here in just a few moments. Now, IBM has been transitioning as a corporation to meet the changing needs of technology and technological advancements. But IBM, in addition, needs to advance itself in the way that it approaches its employees. We have a new generation on the block, the millennials. According to PwC, the millennial generation was set to become 50% of the workforce by 2020. If you reach out and look at different forms of research, the Pew Research Foundation for the United States has said that already happened in 2015. Deloitte prepared a millennial survey. They do one every year. In the millennial survey of 2016, they concluded that of those surveyed, about 8,000 people, 66% of them indicated they would have left their current employer by 2020. That's only 3 years. So this new generation of employees are less loyal to a degree because they're interested in looking for other opportunities if it's going to advance their careers. And millennials as well, through this survey, were found to care more about the ethics of a corporation and looking at advancements and achievement past profits, which previous generations didn't necessarily value as much. So how do corporations attract people that are going to be top talent? How do they bring in top talent that think differently from the generations previous to them? IBM was looking for ways to boost employee engagement in the millennial generation, and also Generation Z, the generation after millennials. They brought together a small group of people to form what is called the Millennial Core. The Millennial Core is tasked with two things. One is boosting employee engagement. Actually, three things. Employee engagement, and then attracting millennial top talent, but more importantly, retaining that top talent because we need to have people stay if we want to make the next leaders of IBM. Millennial Core has been hard at work doing different activities to both attract, which is over here on one side, but then also retain, which is on the other. So now I'd like to focus on just a few of those things. In the world of fashion, not something that is synonymous with IBM, we're really focusing on areas that aren't normally touched by our corporation. IBM is very popular, and we use and work with other corporations and governments, and we try to solve big problems in healthcare. So we're trying to attract different groups, and we're trying to find people whose interest is piqued by IBM. So in the area of fashion, we partnered with Marquesa, a designer, Marquesa, and we created what's called the cognitive dress. Using Watson technologies, we analyzed all of Marquesa's previous designs to come up with a color palette. And then we analyzed different textiles and fabrics to identify what would be best with LED technologies. And this dress on the screen behind me is integrated with LEDs. And during the Met Gala, at which this dress was introduced, the dress's LEDs would change colors based on real-time social media sentiment analysis. So as people were tweeting and posting on Facebook and talking about the ball, the dress would change colors to correspond with that. Looking into the area of music, we partnered with the producer and artist Alex da Kid to help him create his next big song. This was last year. We used Watson technologies, again, to analyze 5 years' worth of cultural data, looking for ubiquitous themes and emotions and trends. We then used Watson to analyze 20,000 recent popular songs for tone and, again, emotions and patterns. And we visualized it in a way that Alex could use this to his advantage to try to find ubiquitous emotions. And he ultimately chose heartbreak, the universality of heartbreak. And you can go and listen to his song that was released last year. It's called It's Not Easy. In addition to doing this partnership with Alex da Kid, we partnered with Daybreaker. Daybreaker is an early morning dance movement, and we partnered with them to do something called the Cognitive Dance Party. Everyone that attended had a personality assessment completed by Watson before they arrived, and that personality assessment paired them up with the workout routine they were going to do, the breakfast that they were going to have, and the outfit that they were going to wear. And they were split up into 3 different groups. And then everybody went and attended, and after you do the workout and the breakfast and everything, you have a dance party. And the floor of the dance party was powered by Watson. Again, looking at the vibe and the mood of the room and correspondingly changing to meet that. Now, both of these, actually all 3 of these things here are on the how do we attract people that wouldn't necessarily think of IBM, and how do we make IBM relevant in different fields that we don't normally touch. Fast forward 2020, on this side, is about IBM looking inward. This was a group of 56 millennials, myself included, that went out and met with our cohorts. All of us surveyed our fellow employees to ask questions like, how do I overcome bureaucracy? How do I advance my career? How can we communicate more effectively? How do we make IBM relevant for the next generation of consumers? All of these people came together after coming up with after getting all this feedback and all of these answers, and we went through design thinking, and we came up with ideas as to how to address this. Each team pitched their idea to the CEO, and since June of last year, we've been working on implementing these ideas. Fast Forward is all about making IBM a better place to work and an easier place to work, because we ultimately want to make it someplace where someone can make a career there, not someone to work for 2 or 3 years and be gone by 2020. So Transformation is very important. We obviously are transforming. IBM transforms to meet the changing face of technology and also to meet the changing needs of their employees and that changing group. I obviously have started in biology, very, very far from where I am now in technology and business. Transformation is essential. According to a survey, it's actually popular sentiment that came out in a World Economic Forum survey called The Future of Jobs, said that kids entering primary school today, of them, 65% of them will work in jobs and careers that don't yet exist. Just because it's true for those kids entering primary school doesn't mean it's equally as true for everyone that's in the workforce now. And so we need to continue to transform ourselves and learn new skills so that we as employees and members of the workforce can continue to meet the changing needs of that workforce and of that society. Lastly, this is my contact information. If anyone would like to reach out to me more to talk more about this, I would be more than happy to. And with that, I thank you.